on The Simon Owen Show, a reading from the Book of Bruce.
You know you're an Australian child of the 70s and 80s if you remember Hector the road safety cat singing, "Look to the right, look to the left, look to the right again. Then if the road is clear of traffic, walk straight across the road. Don't run, walk straight across the road." You remember the Mana Mana song done by the Muppets. 20 cents worth of mixed lollies could last you hours, and 50 cents, only older, richer kids could afford that much. Icy poles were 5 cents each, and a paddle pop was 20 cents. Sunny Boys and Razzers were your staple with the school canteen. You decided against rushing out and buying a CD player because you objected to the fact that you were being forced to change your entire collection. You know you're a child of the 70s and 80s if after your bath, you'd get into your dressing gown, pop your moccasins on, sit down in the beanbag with a cup of Milo and watch Countdown. Summers were long and hot. Fanta tasted like Fanta should. There was Tang, who remembers Tang, and Tab Cola, advertised by L. McPherson. As long as there is fun, there's always Coca-Cola, was the big slogan for Coke at the time. And you wondered how the Coca-Cola girls and boys got inside that big clear beach ball. You remember spending a whole day at the beach with no sunblock at all, and you burnt yourself until you got blisters. Then you'd peel your skin off. Ugh. Basketball was only played by Americans. Dunlop volleys were a viable option. Doctor Who scared you silly. You remember the first Space Invaders because someone in your street got an Atari. You watched the Village People movie. You felt a bit of a thing for both Jeannie and Samantha. You saw Grease and E.T. at the movies. And you went to a drive-in with your parents in your pyjamas. You had a Walkman that had fat headphones and it chewed tapes after the first 3 days. Matchbox cars and Barbies were essential to your development. You had cardboard dolls, or your sisters did, that came with books of paper clothes that you would tear out and stick on the doll, folding over the little tabs. The kid with the pool was your best friend until someone got an in-ground pool. The only place you could get pizza was Pizza Hut, and it was expensive. You know you're a child of the 70s and 80s when you put those special chip packets in the oven to make shrinkies. You played dress-ups in your parents' funky clothes that you'd kill to get your hands on now. You had a Commodore 64 that took an hour to load each game. Floppy disks were actually floppy. You went through at least one pair of thongs each year because you wore them so much. And you remember when the first people in your street got a video machine. It was top-loading and there was no such thing as a remote control. And a few years later, there was a remote control, but it was attached by a cord to the video, and it was always too short to operate from the lounge anyway. And even then, it was beta versus VHS. Fags were called fags, those lolly cigarettes, and no one batted an eyelid when an 8-year-old walked down the street with a lolly cigarette hanging out of their mouth. You weren't old enough to go and see Aliens? I Love Rock and Roll, so Put Another Dime in the Jukebox Baby was an anthem of your era.